What's going on, everyone? So I've seen a lot of talk about, Luka versus AD kind of, right? Like, hey, we love AD. AD's great, but just the team just seems better without him. Was AD the problem all along, right? Like kind of this narrative of like, hey, the Lakers are better now. I mean, I've even relayed that I actually believe that this version of the Lakers is better than the previous version. Obviously, if we didn't get Luka, what type of trades would we have made, right? Well, we have gotten a center to pair alongside an Anthony Davis and maybe got another point of attack guy or something like, right? The team, I'd imagine, probably would have looked very different with Anthony Davis right now than what it does right now because, again, you went and made the push for Luka, and then it was like, okay, well, what else do we need? And now you had to shift focus for a center. Fortunately, that center fell through, but you still have this team and then Luka as like the driving force. So why does this team seem better, right? Why do I have more faith in this team now compared to the team with Anthony Davis, the previous team? Again, we don't know what it would have looked like had we kept AD, but the main reason, outside of like the obvious, like Luka's just the better player, right? Luka's top 3-4 player in the league. I mean, I think he's probably top 3, but some people have SGA ahead of him. Fine, if you want to say that, that's fine. He's at worst top 4, top 5, right? Like he's an incredible talent. Where AD is, he's a top 10 player, and at times he can be a top 5 player, but it's the consistency with him at times. But the biggest kind of reason why, and I'll touch on the defense side of things, but I just want to focus for a moment on Luka and AD. The reason Luka is more impactful is because he has the ball in his hands and he just generates so much more, right? So Anthony Davis, I've talked about Anthony, like the best version of Anthony Davis we've seen, 40 points, 20 rebounds, 7 assists. Right? He's a guy that can go and get you, and just dominate on both sides of the basketball. But those games are usually far and in between, right? Normal AD is like, 25 to 30, somewhere in that range. Still giving you, the 12 rebounds. Right? Give you a couple blocks, 2 or 3 blocks. The defensive presence is there, right? Usually, on average, he's giving you, 2 to 3 assists, something like that. He's generating collectively, roughly, let's call it 30 points, right? Between assists and then the points and buckets that he's creating. Luka, on an average night, is generating as much as like, 50, 60 points just by himself, right? Because he's getting you 28 to 30 a night as point average, but he's also getting you anywhere from 7 to, 12 assists on a nightly basis. Even if all of those were 2, let's just say 7 assists a night, right? You have another 14 points generated. So you're talking 44 points of just offensive generated just by Luka alone, right? But it's not just the offensive creation, offense generation. It's the attention that he draws, but also the ability to gain that dribble penetration, right? Anthony Davis, he's a lot more limited because he's a big man. Incredible talent, one of the best big men, in history. I mean, the guy's an incredible player, but he needs the setup. How many times have we seen Anthony Davis have like 25 through 3 quarters or 30 through 3 quarters, and then he'll finish the game at 30, right? It's not all AD's fault because it's up to the playmakers, the guys that have the ball in their hands, the offensive initiators. It's up to the coach. You didn't see that as much with JJ, but with Darvin Ham, you saw that like regularly, right? JJ did a much better job of making sure AD still gets touches in the fourth and all that stuff, but still, he needs the setup, right? AD's not just getting and going. Luka is. Right? Luka is also because he is the point of break, right? Like he's the one that is causing the dribble penetration, that's collapsing the defense and creating all the advantage points. Right? AD's not doing that regularly. Right? Yes, when he has the monster games, teams are, packing it in. But teams are worried about, the 3-point shot. And then Luka getting to the foul line, creating, advantage situations, right? He's able, because he's a ball handler and he's a guy that can create, he's able to just do more and affect the game more than an Anthony Davis can, right? Anthony Davis's real bright spot is defensively. But the problem is that the Lakers they've been better defensively without AD. Is it because AD was no, I mean, AD, like this version with top elite AD defensively would be great. But it's what you see like with LeBron, right? When LeBron's on the court, you tend to just default, right? Or things are going bad, you trust, okay, that. I've talked about it. Like when LeBron's out, guys like Rui, Austin Reeves, right? Like D'Lo when he was on this team, like all those guys, they would step up and they'd be better. It's like, man, why can't they just do that with LeBron and AD? Because they have LeBron to default to. When you don't have LeBron, it's like, ooh, I don't have that guy that I can just like, hey, I'm struggling right now. I can just get the ball to LeBron, right? Like, you don't have that. You got to figure it out. You got to work through it. You got to be more aggressive. You got to be more in attack mode. You have to basically try to supplement and offset the absence of LeBron James, right? Same thing with Anthony Davis. So why is the defense better? Because they don't have Anthony Davis to default to. You get blown by, right? Usually you're like, don't worry, AD's got it. You don't have AD now. Now you have to recover, right? And I know the idea is like, well, that should just happen regardless, but it's easier said than done. Again, it's why has every team LeBron James has ever been on always default to LeBron James? I mean, he's been with some of the best stars in the league, and they all default to LeBron James. It's easier said than done. His gravity, what he does, how he creates, like it's just that's the type of player he is. It's the same thing with Kobe, same thing with Jordan, same thing with these top tier guys, right? Like everyone gravitates to the guy, right? He's the guy, he's the leader, he's whatever. Guys are struggling. I don't have to figure out if I'm having a bad defensive night, right? I don't need to try to figure it out because AD is going to cover me, right? Like, and then that creates these disadvantages, right? So you have just the lack of generation, like offensive generation that Anthony Davis provides, and then you also have the defensive kind of apron, right? That kind of laxes others, right? When you don't have Anthony Davis, my defensive level has to be higher because I don't have Anthony Davis to make up for my disadvantages. Or, again, if I get blown by, I don't have Anthony Davis to get my back. I have to make sure I'm staying in front of guys. I have to make sure I'm trying to recover. I have to make sure I'm getting back. I have to make sure. And then also just this style of offense you're running, right? You get to spread the floor out, right? You can play a faster game because you're not waiting on AD to come down. You also don't have to wait on AD in the post up, going and doing his thing, right? Like, because AD needs his touches, right? So you need to get him his, 18 to 20 touches a night. You're operating that through the half court. Where Luka, he can get his 20 touches, but he can do it in a variety of ways because he is the offensive engine, right? You can run it in the half court. You can get out in transition. He can make the plays, right? Like, so you have just more versatility with a guy like Luka. And that would be any ball handler, period. But Luka's just that top tier. I mean, he's one of the best ever, right? Like, so you're talking about just the top tier, right? So you didn't go from like, for example, if you went from Anthony Davis to like a Trae Young, right? Like, Trae Young still generates and does all that other stuff, but I don't think it would have as big of an impact as a guy like Luka because Luka is just that next level. Luka is just a guy that just, again, his gravity, everything that he creates is just so much larger. Teams are so much more worried, right? Like, and he's just bigger, right? Like, so you just add in all these little factors. It really kind of changes the landscape of this team, right? And then, oh yeah, by the way, you have LeBron James. Oh yeah, and by the way, you have Austin Reeves. And what does Luka do for Reeves? It makes it so now Reeves, because when we had AD, it was LeBron and Reeves had to be your primary playmakers, your primary ball handlers, right? Well, Reeves can make plays, right? But he's at times he's not good at balancing the playmaking from the scoring. When is he usually at his best making plays? When he's being aggressive in an attack mode, right? Something that I talk all the time, like can Reeves just stay aggressive, right? Luka now takes the ball out of Reeves' hands, right, as the primary playmaker, as the primary creator, but it allows Reeves to now be the two guard. So now he gets to stay in attack mode. He's a guy that go get you 25 to 30 and still dish out, 7 to 12 assists. We've seen him do it. But it looks more natural when he's being aggressive. Why? Because he's taking what the defense gives him now. He is, creating that dribble penetration. And then the defense comes, and then it's like, oh, Jackson Hayes on the cut. Boom. Easy lob. Right? Or, defense collapse. Oh, here comes Rui. Easy skip pass. Boom. Right? Like, he's reacting rather than you see at times when he's the primary playmaker. We saw a good majority of last year, and we saw it a good chunk early this year. Struggled with ball pressure, right? Like, he was turning the ball over a lot more than he has recently, right? Like, it's just these things. Reeves naturally has just gotten more and more comfortable as the season goes on, so I don't want to be like, oh, it's all because of Luka. No, a lot of it has been Austin Reeves. I've been much more impressed with Reeves this last 15 game stretch or so than earlier on. But a lot of it he's been more aggressive. Why? He didn't have Anthony Davis for a lot of those. Some of those games he didn't even have LeBron. So he has no choice. Why is Austin Reeves always at his best when he doesn't have Anthony Davis or LeBron? Because he has no choice but to be aggressive. He has no choice but to be the guy now. He has to be that scorer and still make plays. But when he is the point guard, when he is your primary playmaker, you see he gets this inconsistency of okay, I need to be aggressive, but I also need to get others involved, right? So you'll see at times it's almost like he's in his head, okay, I just took 3 straight shots. I need to get the ball to somebody else, right? Rather than just stay in attack. If you just hit 3 shots, go hit another 5, right? And then if the defense corrects, now you can slice and dice. But when he has, a Luka, when he has a LeBron, when he has those guys, because Anthony Davis doesn't provide that, Luka does. So now you have a Luka who can handle that responsibility, and now Reeves can just go. And he's still going to get his, 5 to 7 assists throughout the course of the game because he's being aggressive and taking what the defense gives him. So Luka just opens up and gives you more options and more flexibility than an Anthony Davis does. The defense, however, I know we've been excellent. We've been best defense in the league the last 20 games. I still want to see that come playoff time. And I want to see that consistently throughout the season. Obviously, bad games happen, bad nights happen, bad defensive sequences happen. It's fine. But for the most part, can we maintain this level of consistency on the defensive side of things? And then come playoff time, can we maintain that level? Because I think we're probably, middle of the pack defensively, which we would have been with Anthony Davis anyway. I know we were pretty bad, but I think the defensive effort, especially on the back end, would have picked up regardless. So I even think that there's a possibility we might have been better defensively because I do think we saw it last year, right? And we saw it the year that we got Jared Vanderbilt, right? Lakers immediately became the number 1 defense in the league because the intensity picked up because at the time it was post-trade deadline. It's usually when teams are ramping up, starting to play playoff basketball, starting to try to fight for seeding. So the intensity, the defense schemes, all that stuff really picks up. So I do think even with Anthony Davis, this team probably be where they're at now defensively because can't be better than the best, right? But I think that it would be more sustainable with Anthony Davis. But I think our offensive production and just the flexibility and versatility, particularly with small ball units and things like that, the ceiling's just higher because you have a guy in Luka that he generates more as well as the impact on the game is higher, right? Anthony Davis doing a little fall away from, 12 feet isn't as impactful as Luka crossing dude up, best defender on the other team, crossing dude up, step back, logo 3. It just isn't, right? I mean, they're both this. I mean, yes, the 3 is worth more points, but they're both baskets. They're both in clutch moments. They're both, you could argue, but, the hype, the crowd is into it more. Oh, all that stuff. It's just like when, just like a layup isn't as impactful and momentum swinging as a dunk. They're worth the same points, but one's just flashier than the other. The reaction is just higher, right? So it shifts it higher. Where Anthony Davis, he's fall away, clutch to take the lead. Right? Everyone's they're cheering and stuff like that. It shifts the momentum. But watching Luka just slice and dice and do all his stuff and then the step back and all that and then boom, knock down the 3. It's just again, it's like if a LeBron did it or something. It's just more impactful for that. It's flashier. It's right? So it's just a bigger swing. So it's just things like that. I just kind of wanted to touch on this because I do think it's very interesting. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? I feel with your thoughts. I agree with my points, disagree with my points, kind of mixed in the middle. However you feel, whatever your thoughts are. I love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.